Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Skeeter H, and I want to talk again about Black family history research, or African American research, which is what is normally called. Today we're going to talk about the census, and I'm going to share my screen, so give me a minute, a second. Okay, here we are. We're going to use my cousin Essida Turner. As you see here, it says she is my first cousin twice removed. And that's a whole nother story, twice removed. But technically it means second generation, second generation cousin. So though this is Essida, and you see that Essida Turner was born in 1881. Now the census is every 10 years. And I think they started 1830, but for African American or Black people, the most important census to us began in 1870. 1860 is beneficial if you are a free person of color, or you you know who your slave owner was, and you want to look and see if he have you listed by name. For my research, all of my ancestors in 1860, with the exception of one that was a free person of color, all of them are on the slave register as numbers. So it's next to impossible to find them by name. I was fortunate enough to find them on a will and a deed, but that's also for another segment. So the 1870 census is the one that helped me out the most for my African American ancestors. Now, like I was saying, the census is every 10 years. So 2020 was a census year. There are certain rules that the federal government require a census worker to follow. We are supposed to write down what the person says. I'm saying we because I worked the census for the last 30 years. I worked 2020, 2010, and 2000. So we are supposed to, if you say that you are a male, even though you look like a female to us, we're supposed to write down male. There are some guidelines that we are supposed to follow for the census. We're supposed to write down the information as it is given to us. Now, we do not have to get the information from a person. We can't from a person. Yes, we do. We do not have to get it from the person in the household. We can get the information from a neighbor, from a government worker, or from a city worker. So there are some guidelines, but we do not have to get it from, let's say, for Essida Turner. If Essida wasn't home, I could get that information from her neighbor. So Essida, as I was saying, was born in 1881, which means she should first show up on the 1890 census. However, 1890 was when the federal government the post office had a fire. Those forms, 1890, were burned. Only a few were saved, and my county and most of Georgia was not part of those that were saved. So 1890 doesn't exist for us. So you can see that the first one I have for her is 1900. And I want to also mention that the next census, the ones that are the latest one you can find right now, is 1940. The 1950 census will not be out until 2022. So April 2022 will be when the 1950 census will become available. There's a 72-year rule that the government followed to make the census available. So the next census, 1950, will be available April 2022. So here we are with the 1900 census, and I want you to take a good look at this, because most people, when they're doing their research, They like to look at this nice clean sheet right here, and they get the information from there, and they think, wow, that's great. So now I have it. Please don't stop there. Always, always open up and view the image on the inside. There is so much more information on that image on the inside that is vital to us. First, at the top, it tells you that this is MD, Militia District 606. This is Georgia. This is Taliaferro County. And this census was taken the 5th day of June, 1900. That's important. So if it says the child is 5 years old, you would know these 5-year-old on the 5th day of June, 1900. And it tells you also who the person that took this census. It's a very good handwriting, but it's really fancy. So, and that's the other reason why it's so much, people really enjoy the nice, crisp, typed version, because it is nice and neat, but it also can be in error. And you have to keep that in mind also. You want to check the image to make sure that the information is correct, that they are black, that it is a male. Because sometimes you will find these errors. You will find it saying male when it's a female. You may find it saying black when they're actually white. So you look at the image. Now, what I like about the 1900 census and the 1910 census are those two ask you about the children born and living. So Elcida Turner says she has 2 children, but only one is living. And that one living is Lodessa. Now, I want you to look at how he made this D, because you will find this on a lot of the handwritings too. This small looking D, but her name is Lodessa. And see how they messed up the Turner? That should have been corrected. Looked like they was trying to write an E here. But this should be a T, so it should be Turner. So the person who transcribed this did a very good job of picking up those letters. And if you know anything about your family, you can also look at neighbors to see if this is the right person. So for instance, if you didn't know that Elcida's husband is Ed and that they have a child named Lodessa, you just know her name, but you know that she is the daughter of Celestus and Fanny. You can look and see if those names are somewhere nearby. But here, look, there's Ed, and Ed's parents are Hannah. There's Hannah Turner. Now on here, her husband is not here. Says she's head, and the next person is a son. So Ed's mom is Hannah. His daddy is Samuel. They're on this page, and there is Elcida's parents. Her parents are Jake Turner and Raya Turner, actually Mariah. And this is her brother Celestus. So you know that she's the sister to Celestus, and this is Celestus here. So, and here Raya has birthed 9 children. She have 8 living. So this information on the census is very important for you to know, so you know how many children you're looking for. You know here that maybe, and this is the key, if this child was born in 1890, then you're going to have to find that child some other way, by maybe a death certificate or a birth certificate. But this is a 1900 census, so that's kind of iffy. Most of these kids may have been born by midwife at home. So you have to look for some other information. You may be able to find that missing child. But if the child died as an infant, you're not going to be able to find it. Sometime, like I said, you will find a birth certificate that shows you this child, but being in 1900, that may be impossible to do. So now let's go to, we want to go back because I want to show you the 1910 census. Make sure we got everything off of this one we need. Of course, you know, to get the children's birth dates. Here, Lodessa is only 4 months old. It says 4/12. Of course, she's single. This is another thing. See, it says marriage. They've been married only 2 years. So that's right in line with, okay, 2 years, 2 kids. That's about right. Ed is 24. Elcida is 19. And so they don't, this is it just says M, no to 1, 2, or 3. That's important too. We'll talk about those numbers with the M later on. So let's get to 1910. Right here, Asida. Come on, computer, work with me. I live in the dead zone, so sometimes my computer don't do what I want it to do as fast as I want it to do it. Here we are in 1910. They still living in the same place, except now it's called Springfield 606, so it's still Militia District 606, and it's Springfield, which is what the community is called today. It's Georgia, and this is correct, Taliaferro, but we pronounce it Tolliver, Taliaferro. We pronounce Tolliver. So remember that. So if you're looking at the Freedmen Bank records and you see Tolliver, you know you got the right place, because those records could be anywhere. They didn't have them in this county, so people had to go either to Augusta or Atlanta. And of course, when they said we're from Tolliver County, the clerk wrote it the way it sound. And a lot of the census, you will find people write things the way they sound, because a lot of the census, a lot of the residents that they're getting this information from couldn't read or write. And so the census worker, the enumerator, is the person who had to write it the way it sounded to her. And that's what happened. Now, here's the date again. This census was taken April the 29th, 1910. So let's see, can we find Asida and her husband, Ed. By the way, all these folks on this picture, see I'm going so slow, because all of them are related. There's Lus, her brother. He's married now. He got his own wife. There's Jack and Selena as a cousin. So here we are. There's Eddie, and this time he's called Eddie F. Eddie F. Turner. And look at here. They've been married 11 years. Says M1. M1 means this is his first wife. He's only been married once. Asida, wife, female, black. She's 29. Now go figure how that happened. This is her first marriage also. They've been married 11 years. And here she says she's 8 born, 8 living, which means she's not counting the one that passed away. And the interesting part is it says Lodessa, Theodore, James D, Eliezer, and Jasper. Yes, I know that's what those names are. And let's see, it says Jasper is 1. That's only 5 children. So let's see if there's some more children on the other page. Turn the page, computer, please. Nope, no children over there, which means the children are probably visiting somebody else's house, because there are only 5 children in the house with her. And that means they could be anywhere. You have to look for them. They could be at their grandparents' house. They could be visiting aunts or uncles. Because if the oldest child here is Lodessa, Lodessa's only 10. So we have 10, 8, 5. So there's somebody missing between Theodore and James. And then that can be somebody missing between James and Eliezer. So, but there are 8 children living. So there should be 8 children somewhere for this census. Okay. And I think that's all we want to say on that one. Oh, the census also tells you, it says birthplace, Georgia, father's birthplace, Georgia, mother birthplace, Georgia. They speak English. It tells you if they are working or not. It says out of work, no. So they are working. It says they're on a home farm, and that the employment type is they are working. They are wage earners. It's their own farm, so they're not renting. They own it, except it doesn't say, oh yeah, they own it, free of mortgage. And so it tells you those things too. If they're a veteran, no. Anyone blind, no. Deaf or dumb, no. Says that can Ed write? It says can write, no. Can read, no. But his wife can. She says yes, and yes for read and write. This is weeks out of work, 0. They have been not out of work at all, because that makes sense. They're on their own home farm. So This is awesome. So the census will give you more information if you go and look at the image. One more I want to talk to you about, and that's going to be the 1940 census. I'm not going to get into great details on the census because you can go to places like Ancestry.com or Family Search, and they'll get into details about what census where, who does state census. For instance, Florida have their own separate census. So the United States does a census every 10 years. But Florida have their own census period. So if you have family there, you can go there and look at their census. But places like that gives out information, genealogy, the Genealogy Society, there you can go and find out which states have their own individual. But so if you want to get into grand details, I'm not going to get into all that. I'm basically telling you about what I found that was helpful for me. And I always look at view an image because you will find errors on the census. So you want to view the original images. Now, this census is interesting because they tell you one of those kids that's missing. I know enough about Asada and Ed to know that they had twins. So the twins were not on the census year we just saw. The twins are Princella and Ludella. And by the way, all the folks I'm telling you about are deceased now. That's the reason why I use their information, because I know they don't mind. And it's nice to talk about them. Here we are, Ed and Asida. And why did I bring you to this census? Because 1940 census is the only one where they let you know who they talk to. So right here is Luss Turner, that same man that was Stellustus 20 years ago. Now he's being called Luss, L-U-S-S. His wife is still Fannie Mae. He's the head of the house. And it says that X right here lets you know that Luss Turner is the person who gave them this information. So you can pretty much bank on that the information is correct if you get it from a parent. If you get it from a neighbor, they're guessing, they don't know a lot of information. They may not know the dates they were born and things like that. So here is Ed and Asida. There is no X on Ed or Asida's name, which means that information came from someone else. Now, Luss may have given them that information, which would also be good because Luss, the Lustus Turner, is Asida's brother. So if he gave the information, this probably still is good for her at least anyway. So here's Ed, and this time he's Ed. He's not Eddie F. And they still make this Turner look really funny. And their daughter is Princella Peak. So that means she's probably married or divorced. Because look at this arrow right here. Marital status, this should be either M for married, D for divorce, WD for widow, or S for single. And this person will like have a number 7 in here. So this is what I was telling you about mistakes that are made. So 1940 tells you the person's name. It tell you whether it gives you these codes. I have no idea what these codes are. But she's female. This one is female. This is female. These people are Negroes, it says here. These are the age, 64, 59, 20, and 2. That means somebody has a baby. See, it says granddaughter. So we will assume that Princella has a baby named Geraldine. And so this would be her here. Now, the other thing it tells you, other than who gave them the information, is that what year they are in school. Asida and her husband only went as far as 4th grade. Their daughter Princella is 3rd year high school. Of course, Geraldine is only 2. She's not in school at all. And I really wish they would told you whether she's divorced or whether she's widowed. You have to find that information somewhere else. Okay. This one also tell you that they're in the rural area. This is the census year that give you that information. And for you people who want to know about things like if they have TVs and that kind of stuff, there are census that they took that told you whether they had a radio in the house or a television in the house. This one don't do that. This one tell you if what the industry is. Of course, they still in agriculture. They own their own family farm. So this is gonna be income other. So somebody's working outside the house, that says income others. For those who like that kind of information. Hours worked, he worked 40 hours this week. You've got here. And next door to Ed and Ed Sider is Hannah Turner. Hannah is Ed's mother, remember? But there's no X on her name either. So there's no X on Hannah, no X on Ed. There's an X on Lust, which means either he gave this information or there's an X right here, Lucinda Meadows. She could have given this information. So somebody other than these two homes gave this information. So if something is wrong, so if the next 10 years you see, well, you won't, the next 10 years you won't because it's 1940. So in 1930, if something doesn't match 1930, 1920, 1910, you can say, well, okay, well, it's because that information may not have come from them. They may not have known. So this year, 1940 is the last census year that you can get until April 2022. And it will show you, and again, you want to go back to the top. Maybe I should have just shrunk this. Be a lot quicker on my computer. They are still living in Militia District 606. They haven't moved. Somebody forgot. Oh, there it is. April the 11th is when this census was taken. And this is A.M. Lumford. So, that's all for today for census. I think I've covered everything I want to talk about. Remember, it's every 10 years. The latest one is 1940. We start with 1870 for us. 1860 if you have somebody who's a free person of color. You want to look at that. If there's a 72-year rule, so the next one isn't available until the 1950 will be available April 2022. And remember, make your family tree. Always start by interviewing your family. Always interview your family first. And then take great notes. Always take great research notes. The worst thing you can do is to forget where you got information from or have to start back over to find something because you forgot. You want to take good research notes. And always happy hunting. You have any questions or comments, please comment below and share and like this video. Thank you, darling. Y'all have a great day. Get that off. Stop sharing. No, I want to stop sharing the screen. Come on. There we are. Okay, like I say, happy hunting. This is Skeeter H signing out.